So Anonymous says, Frankie, by far the biggest pain point with the contractors we talk to is finding and keeping good employees. It doesn't matter how many leads we get them. If they can fulfill the work, neither of us get, or if they can't fulfill the work, neither of us gets paid. What have you seen out there to solve this? How would you go about helping contractors find and keep employees in terms of service delivery? Any white label recommendations? Caitlin says, is it ever appropriate to include your Loom video on a landing page, or should it be distributed one-to-one? Lachlan says, just want to share some success. I was recently featured in the association of my target market in Australia. They have said they would love for me to produce more content and potentially add my trainings in the back end of the portals. No new clients yet, but I'm going to be consistently showing up. Thanks, Frankie Finn, for your wise words of wisdom. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I use the term gentleman loosely because you guys are my favorite internet degenerates out there. Nothing but shenanigans all the time. For those of you guys who didn't see my email, I just sent an email to those of you guys who are on our mailing list. We are making some major facelifts to the wolf pack to essentially like to leverage other people's audiences better, to be able to grow an agency by identifying the people in your space who have an audience, then getting a whole lot of intel on them, using that intel to like create a very well thought out, personalized, valuable pitch, and then to co-create content with them that serves their audience, what ultimately leads to you. I saw an awesome post by Jeremy who did this exact strategy this morning and is doing it for accountants. And he's got a big webinar coming up in the space for all the accountants, and they're all going to see his stuff all at once come to him. Chris Benetti comes to mind. He co-created, I think, also a webinar with Ryan Dice to promote his book selling service. So there's some real magic for the stuff you guys are putting together. If you guys are interested in seeing the tools and the swipe file and the resource we built for that, I put a link below this video. You can go to beyondagencyprofits.com. Check that baby out. And that's all I got for you guys. Let's get into the questions. Let's talk the goodness. Let me take a drink because I always end up dehydrated and having a cough in the middle of my own rant. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. To the dad guns, we are in business. All right, guys, welcome back. So we're talking agency growth. I see our man Cole is here. I'm more of a fist bump dude, Cole, so we're going to do the bro fist bump. But I'll take a high five too, man. I'm all over the map with that. So first up, we got our man Josh. Josh is saying, anyone here willing to critique my offer? And I want to do this in such a way, by the way, we're going to critique Josh's offer together, but I also want to do this in a way where hopefully you guys get something out of this with your own offers to help kind of tighten those up, okay? So he says, I thought I had posted it, apparently not. I'm at a point where I know how to do everything effectively to a degree that gets results for trades and local business owners, SEO, DR copy, media buying, marketing automation, AI chatbots, landing page design. Where I suck, sales calls, LMAO. And I'm thinking of these two offers to test. First offer is service solution, lead generation via Facebook ads management for $500 a month. Any market, no price change, even if they raise their ad budget. Provided tracking number for calls, SMS leads. Nothing fancy, just pure Facebook ad service. Just going to get good with one thing, even though I have lots in my skill set. Don't mind niching down. I believe it's going to be an easy sell, even on the phone via just chat. Second offer is performance-based to earn profit share, either with setup or $2.5K ad spend. Some say it's too low for all of these, or just no setup fee and 10% profit, depending on the job, ticket per niche, or a flat fee, or per appointment, or pay per lead. Anything to make this performance-based. I'll run and create their ads, handle their local SEO, any other form of marketing that needs copy and creatives, track all the results, provided tracking number, retargeted, reactivate, reputation management, AI voice chat, everything tracked in CRM in there. All they do is front end ad spend and pay for software if needed. They own the subscription. Basically everything that can move the thing from traffic to lead to sale. Sure, I don't have any control of their process, so need to think about what's the best way to get it. Clearly, this will all be done in proper timelines, not simultaneously. Seems like a no-brainer, no risk to them. I put my money where my mouth is. All right, my dude, that was a fucking serious mouthful. So, Holy shit, I got a lot of thoughts on that baby right there. So first of all, so like for those of you guys who are out there and like trying to get your offers, I wrote about this the other day, but whenever you have an offer that's broken, meaning you got like a really good service and deliverable, and it's just like people are not buying it, I want you to first recognize that your service, the thing you deliver, and your offer on it are separate things. Those are different things. Like in the same way, like if you think about a restaurant, what does a restaurant do as a service? Well, they fucking feed you, right? Like hopefully, right? Like in this day and age, it might be $100 for a steak, but hopefully you're going to get fed if you go to a restaurant, and it's going to be a better than average meal worth going out to dinner and whatever. And hopefully you got a date of some kind. But a restaurant can actually create like unlimited offers, right? Like a restaurant could have a 2-for-1 chicken wing special. They could have a half-price appetizer, or they could have drink specials between 3 and 6 o'clock at happy hour, right? So there's all kinds of, they could have an all-you-can-eat, $16.99, whatever, French fry buffet, right? So I want you guys to understand that creating offers and the service attached to it are different things. And I say that because you just described the service, but you actually didn't make an offer at all. You described all the deliverables and all the work you're going to do. And don't get me wrong, those things are important because you have to actually know what you're going to do. But where people miss the mark on the offer is they usually almost always aren't specific enough on the other side for what the other person wants. Now, I know this sounds like just really retardedly simple when I say that, and it is simple, but it's not easy. And I distinguish simple means this is not a complex idea, but that doesn't mean it's always easy to do in practice. And so the reason I say that is because what you have to figure out, the missing recipe from all of that, is what a general contractor or a tradesperson is trying to do with all that Facebook ad, with all that chat bot, with all that activity. When that's all said and done and an outcome has been created and something has happened in their reality, what do they receive that is meaningful and specific? And almost always I'll tell you with trades, the type you're dealing with, it is specific job types. Hey, I want line jobs. Hey, I want full roofing installs. Hey, I want to get the big commercial ones. Hey, I want to get the property management deals because those tend to be recurring. I want the tree cutting service, in the rich area, right? There's almost always like a specific job type that they're after. And so if you're not really sure, I'll tell you how you can get that information really, really quickly. Is you join a community where your people hang out and you ask the question, what kinds of jobs do you wish you had more of? And they'll go, blah, blah, blah. So I'll tell you, when I actually did the 90-day challenge, I did this in the restoration space, and they said category 3 flood jobs. Now, when you're like brand new in a niche and you don't speak their language, almost always your first reaction is going to be like, what the fuck is that? What does that even mean? And they explained to me that, well, when it's a category 3, there's a lot of water damage, and so ergo, there's more for them to fix, and there's more money in it. So they want the bigger flooding jobs. Go figure, right? So the minute we changed our messaging to not be like, we're going to do some SEO, and SEO, we're going to have content, and we're going to have AI, we're going to do, and got away from all those deliverables and focused on the meaningful outcome we're going to create for you, which is, in our case, we're going to get you category 3 flood jobs and phone calls related to people who have category 3 floods. That's when that's when it gets easier. So I say that because like almost always, when offers are broken, we're focused too much on what we're going to do and not what meaningfully shows up in their reality. So when you've done all the chatbot and you've done all the CRM and they've paid for all the ads, what happens in their reality? And sometimes when you find this information out, which typically happens, is this changes your offer like 10 degrees, right? So in my case, it went from we're going to do SEO to we're going to do SEO to get category 3 flood jobs. Is there a big difference in delivery? Not really. Like we're just going after slightly different keywords and we're optimizing for slightly different things. But yeah, it's the same old SEO work, but it's a different offer. And I say that to you because, give you one more example. This was the one I wrote in the post because this will hopefully help you, make sense of it. So what most people do when they try and create an offer is they come up with something, they're not really clear on what the other person is getting or wants out of the deal. They describe all the deliverables and they attach like an over-the-top guarantee to it, hoping people will buy on the risk reversal. So I see this, like, for example, I had a guy come to me say, hey, we run Facebook ads for personal injury attorneys. And he says, should we go, I'm going to guarantee them, like, or they'll get $1,000. Hey, I can get you quality leads from Facebook, or we'll pay you $1,000. Now, I'm not saying that can't work, but most of the people who read $100 million offers missed the 4 things that Hormozi talked about the offers, and they heard really loudly the guarantee part of it. But it was a specific result. It was easy to get that result. There was like a high degree of success, and like a lot of the pieces like of difficulty had been removed. I'm probably forgetting something from his offer formula, but those are like equally important. And so almost always when people are missing, it's the specifics. So in that particular example, what I wrote about, for those of you guys who didn't read the post, I asked the person, like, what makes a quality Facebook lead? And they said, well, you know, somebody who's like been in a motor vehicle accident. And I was like, okay, like, give me more. Like, what makes them like quality? And they said, well, firstly, they don't already have an attorney, right? Because like if they already hired somebody, there's nothing we can do. And they said they're inside of the statute of limitations, which means like it hasn't been 3 years since the accident happened and they can still file a lawsuit. Then they said that person had car insurance. And then they said that person was not at fault for the accident. So those 4 things. And so we changed the offer based on that. The outcome, it went from we're going to do Facebook ads, which is a deliverable. It's like a restaurant saying we're going to feed you, to something more specific about like what that person is actually going to receive. And we focused on we can get you motor vehicle accident leads. Sorry, I hear my little guy screaming downstairs. That's the joy of having toddlers. Within statute of limitation, no existing attorney, has insurance, and was not at fault for their accident. And then I asked him, by the way, like, what's a typical average result? And he said, well, you know, we usually get leads for $100, and they close 1 in 4 or 5 of them. And so it's like, okay, so like on average, they're signing a case for like $500. And I was like, yeah, okay. Well, then now tell them, not only can you create that specific result, but in your case, you have the added information of knowing how much it'll cost to do it. For $500, I can get you a signed case in this area. So I say that to you guys because almost always when you're missing the mark on your offer, it's way too much about deliveries. It's deliverables. It's a restaurant saying we're going to feed you, and not enough if you come between 3 and 6 o'clock. We got $2 gin and tonics, and we got the fucking best live band in the whole city playing, right? So if you say that, if you focus on that piece of just figuring out what the other person wants, your offers will, like, really, I wouldn't say this is the total formula for an irresistible offer, but this is the piece I see most often missing in the agency space, is think about it as an irresistible outcome. When it's all said and it's all done, right? Like if I hire somebody to build a deck for me, I want a finished deck. I don't want somebody who's going to go, well, you're going to get this much lumber, and you're going to get this much measuring time, and you're going to get this much sanding time, and this much building. I don't care about any of that shit. When it's all said and done, are you going to build me a deck? Yes, in 3 days you'll have a deck. Okay, you're hired, right? So a lot of times we make this more complicated because we're already thinking 12 steps ahead of like all the million things we got to do to deliver, and you guys don't need to do that. I'm way behind in these messages. Sam says, my dude, killing it. Appreciate that, my dude. I don't know if you're still here. Cole says, plumber's just trying to get shit to run downhill. Figuratively and literally, my man. Basil says, keep the iceberg where it is. They only need to see the top 10% tip. Basil's advice is just the tip. And he's right, by the way. If you ever try and get your wife into bed, always start with just the tip. Never try and go into the full thing. And it's the same deal. Like, really, they need a little bit of a semblance of a plan to get there, but they're mostly interested in getting there. Sam says the post was fire. John says, let's go. By the way, I didn't get a chance to reply to your boat pick because my kids were being crazy, but I'm in, dude. Let's make that happen. So anyways, I hope that's helpful to Josh and anybody else listening. So this one was anonymous, and again, whenever you guys post anonymously, I assume you have no pants on and you're naked, and you did not want the rest of us to judge and shame you, but we're going to do that anyway. So Anonymous says, Frankie, by far the biggest pain point with the contractors we talk to is finding and keeping good employees. It doesn't matter how many leads we get them. If they can fulfill the work, neither of us get, or if they can't fulfill the work, neither of us gets paid. What have you seen out there to solve this? How would you go about helping contractors find and keep employees in terms of service delivery? Any white label recommendations? I'm going to give you a totally different recommendation than what most people are saying. But just looking right here. So one of my daily reminders on there is it says, what is missing from the market, right? Rather than creating solutions that what I would call are Me Too solutions. And this is the honest to God's truth, which probably a lot of people don't want to hear. But most agency services don't need to exist. They're Me Too offers trying to sell the same thing to the same people in the same way, and often an inferior 5 years too late version of that thing. And there is always, by the way, business has endless problems. So there's always like unsolved problems and unmet needs in every marketplace. Like I think in legal, there's a company called Alert Communications. They are a virtual assistant agency. They do one thing. They answer the phone after hours and on weekends, because a lot of attorneys can answer their phone Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then the person goes home. And people still call them from their Google listing at 8:30 at night. So they have a virtual assistant answered it. Alert Communications is just okay. All they do is take that person's contact information down and say, somebody will call you in the morning. And they're like at least $100 million company. And why? Because they're the only ones solving that unmet need. Is all these attorneys getting leads, so many of them doing a good job Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, but after hours and weekends, they ain't got anybody. And of course, people in the Philippines, that's prime time for them. So that's an example, one example of what's possible with an unmet need. It's like a small little virtual assistant agency can become a $100 million thing. So I'm a believer that if you talk to fucking 20 contractors and they tell you your problem is, like, I don't have enough help, I don't have enough good help, that to me, why generate leads for like, I'm going to grow your business that way? And why not generate leads for like, we'll bring you qualified candidates? You know, it took me probably 10 years to realize this, that marketing to get clients and marketing to get employees is like literally the same process. Hiring made no fucking sense to me for like a decade, just so you guys know, until I realized, oh, it's just generate leads, follow up quick with them, have an irresistible offer to come work for us. And like, it was literally the same thing. And then it was like, oh my God, like, of course I know how to do this, right? Like, and a big shout out to, a man named John Jonas, who's the founder of onlinejobs.ph. I don't know John. I've never met him, but I learned everything I know about like hiring people from his blog and just his free stuff. So I recommend whenever you guys get a chance, if you're hiring people from the Philippines or plan to, just check out his free stuff, man. Like that alone was enough for me. Anyways, I digress. Why not sell them leads? You know what? You know why most contractors don't get qualified candidates? They never advertise. Their offer is pretty irresistible or pretty resistible. Come work with us. They haven't figured out the reason somebody would want to work for them instead of another company. And all you do is you generate leads and you write ads that say, hey, we're an awesome company to work for and these are the benefits, and then you'll get awesome pay and you get flexible hours and you get a really cool owner and we got an awesome culture and we don't get the shitty jobs. Like if you're a plumber, like you never have to clean a toilet even though you're a plumber. Like the more and more reasons you stack for why they should come work there, the more you're going to apply. And then it's just a filtering and sorting process after that. And like all leads, be quick. Like some of these guys, they get a resume and they don't call that person back for a month. Do you think that person's sitting waiting at home all month going, I hope they call me back? No, they're going to go find another fucking job, right? So it's all just lead generation. And so I say that to you because this is why I say sometimes when you listen to the market, your offer should shift 10 degrees. So this is the 10-degree shift I would make if any of you guys are selling general contractors that are telling you we can't keep up with the work we got and we don't have enough good help. My offer would go, we're going to get you leads for jobs. It would go from here to 10-degree shift. We're going to get you leads for qualified candidates who can actually do the work and fulfill for you. 10-degree shift. You're probably still going to run Facebook ads. Maybe you post the ad on Indeed.com or whatever. But the fact that you're going to get people in the door and things like that is already like a more appealing promise, and you're probably going to do the same work you're doing anyway. So I share that to you guys because I feel like there's just way too many Me Too offers in our space, and a lot of the reason people struggle is they're just selling the same shit to the same people in the same way, right? And like if you think, I hear all the time, personal injury is super saturated. It's super saturated. You can't go in there, right? And if you're trying to sell the same fucking SEO pay-per-click that they've heard 10 million times, that's probably true. But if you make that 10-degree shift and aim it at something they want, it's probably something new and different, in the same way that like there are always unmet needs in business. And there's a reason for this, by the way, just so you guys know. I used to think that at some point I would reach in business where I'd have no more problems. But every time you solve a problem, you create another one, right? And so like literally there are always going to be unmet needs in your marketplace. Your job is to identify them and actually serve those needs. So I say that to you guys because like in an agency, I'll give you an example of like one problem solved creates another. You're starting out, you're usually fucking broke and you got 0 clients. And then you try and get some clients in the door, and then you get a couple. And then there's a new problem called fulfillment. Like, you got to actually fulfill on the promises. And now you got to figure out how to do that in a timely fashion and how to communicate with people. And eventually, if you get good at that, and you get good at selling it, and you get off that roller coaster, then you'll have to start hiring people. And all of a sudden, you have to get good at hiring people. And you got a whole new problem called you got to bring people in the door. And then eventually, if you get good at that, you'll have a managerial structure that usually starts in chaos with a bunch of people just yelling at you all day long going, you got a minute, boss? You got a minute? You got a minute? Boss, you got a minute? You got a minute? Can we talk? You got a minute? And what ended up happening is like every time you do that, there's just another problem and another problem. So there's always going to be unmet needs in your marketplace. Always, always, always. Like people, it's almost always because people are just trying to solve the same problems in the same way to the same people offering the same thing in the same way because they read a course that said it's really easy. Now go do the same thing as everybody else. But if you can just listen to the market, all the pros do this, by the way. All the pros. Nobody talks about this that I've heard. Maybe a few people, but all the pros do it. Perry Marshall's talked about this. I've heard Dennis, you talk about it. They call it active listening. Put your ears up and you go to your marketplace and you figure out, hey, everybody keeps saying, I need help. I need help. Look at my monkey ears, by the way. They look ridiculous. Anyways, but you get people saying, I need qualified help. I can't even handle the work I got. I need qualified help. If you keep hearing that, why not solve that problem? And why not, and again, you're probably still going to run Facebook ads. You're still going to, generate leads. You're still going to have some kind of basic follow-up or retargeting, right? And you're still going to create an offer. You just, instead of creating an offer to, hire this general contractor, you're going to create an offer for why we're a great place to come work and you should come apply to work with us. So I share that with you guys because don't make this harder than it needs to be. Sell shit people want to buy. Perry Marshall says when he creates solutions, imagine there's a big field, and this is a literal thing for me growing up, because when I used to visit my best friend from high school, there was a big-ass field. It's empty. It's probably a fucking Walmart or something by now in 20 years. But we used to always cut through that. And he said, being a real entrepreneur is often just noticing there should be a path there, but there isn't a path there. I can see all the footsteps. People keep walking through that. There's kind of a dirt path. But if we built a real path from A to B and made it quick and easy for people to get to the other side, they'd probably pay us a lot of money. And so to me, if you can deliver them qualified candidates at scale, that's probably going to reduce that bottleneck in their business and be extra helpful. So anyways, that's enough of a rant, but I just tell you guys that because if you make a 10-degree shift towards what the market wants, you're going to sell the fuck out and you're going to be alert communications where you're going to be the only one who does what you do and people are going to pay you a lot of money because it solves a real problem. Caitlin says, is it ever appropriate to include your Loom video on a landing page or should it be distributed one-to-one? So I think, Caitlin, the whole point of a Loom video is to end up with a video on a landing page that is 24/7 365 days a year, that is the best pitch man or woman in your entire company and continues to make irresistible offers over and over and over. I had a really fun conversation. I was at the Commitment Summit with Karen and JC Height in Cancun. I want to say a couple weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago. I'm bad with timelines, but somewhere in that region. And I was telling who was on the phone with Buzz? I was on the bus with Buzz, and we were headed to a boat ride. And Buzz was asking me what do you do? And I said, a lot of people know me as this Loom guy because we close our stuff in video. And he was like, I don't know if that really works, and blah blah blah. And he was just curious about it, but not at the same time a little skeptical, which is normal. That's how people usually are. And I said, let me just pull up the stats. How long have we been talking? He's like, 45 minutes. And I was like, let's do it. And I was like, I pulled it open. And I was like, all right, we closed $1,500 in sales since you and I started talking because Digital Me was still pitching this whole fucking time. And so I say that to you guys, or I should say a more accurate description. Pitching sounds like hardcore selling. We don't really do that. It's like making irresistible offers and then inviting people to work with you would probably be a more accurate description. But we make irresistible offers and invite people to work with us and do that continuously around the clock. So the point of it is to end up with one video that literally just sells your service over and over and over. Now, having said that, does it make sense to personalize them? And the answer is yes, especially in the beginning. Now, why is that? If the whole point of this is to leverage, is simple. Before we skip to automation and put this out there a billion times, we want to get it working. We want to actually get it where it goes. People say, yes, I would like to buy that. Yes, I'm in. yes, I will take you up on your offer. It doesn't have to happen 100% of the time, but at least some of the time, we want the video to produce a yes. And almost always the part, and not enough people understand it, this is true whether you do sales calls or you're in our style of world and you're closing through video, is the objections always, like 99% of the time, happen in the same place. They show up as money objections. They show up as I gotta talk to my partner. They show up as I need to think about it. But what they're really unsold on is your plan or your process to actually create a result. And almost always the objection is a form of, well, that sounds like some shit I tried before that didn't work for me. Right? So I say that to you because a useful thing to do is just to give people everything up before the price to the plan and just say, what do you think of my plan? And if you get objections to the plan, what you're going to find out is you're going to get objections to whatever you're selling that's attached to the plan. And then the flip side of that is they go, that sounds exactly like we need. That's a way better thing than what we've been doing. Then almost always the next thing is going to be, what do we need to do to get started? So I share that to you guys because even if you're doing calls, simply asking people on a call, what do you think of that plan? Like when you describe how you would go and solve that problem for your prospective client, like if they buy into the plan, they'll buy the offer attached to your shit. If they don't buy the plan, they won't buy your shit attached to the offer. So I say that because it's a great little litmus test. But once you basically are at the point where people no longer object to your plan or your process, and you fine-tune the little details that help them clarify where we're different. And like, say, for example, if they say, hey, we hired 6 SEO people before, and they just didn't do anything, then maybe one of your steps needs to be, let me show you how we do reporting, because I know you've probably had people who you hired and did nothing and you never heard anything from them, to show you that not only are we doing stuff towards the goal, but we're making progress, and that we're accountable to you, and that we're actually like doing it. How would that sound to you, right? Like putting that detail into your plan is going to make it work so much better. So I say that to you because for that reason, I recommend that you personalize the first 5 or 10 videos until you start hearing some yeses. And then once you have a yes, just put in one video and let it be a 24/7, 365 machine. Now it'll create a new problem for you, which is one of my favorite problems to have in the last couple of years. I call it inbox hunting, because you'll get payments that show up in your inbox and you don't know who just paid you for what. And you're like, oh, what is this? That one right there. Okay, what is that? Okay. And then you have to figure out, like, if you're like me and you're a little bit ADD and running too many offers, you got to figure out who just paid you for what, right? So anyways, I share that with you just because, yes, the whole point of a Loom video is to get one video that, like, 24/7, 365 days a year, delivers your offer like a pro, never takes a day off, and does not require you to hire salespeople, by the way. It doesn't he or she, your digital version of you, does not need to be managed, does not call in sick. Does not need like a daily shot of Tony Robbins motivation. Just fucking works. So that's the real magic when you get to that stage, which is not far from where you're at, just so you know. Lachlan says, just want to share some success. I was recently featured in the association of my target market in Australia. They have said they would love for me to produce more content and potentially add my trainings in the back end of the portals. No new clients yet, but I'm going to be consistently showing up. Thanks, Frankie Finn, for your wise words of wisdom. My dude, that is the most exciting piece of all. And I'll tell you, one thing that's kind of hard for people to measure in a way, and I wish I understood this earlier, that when you produce content in your industry, that content, especially the specific types of content that we've been talking about, the effects of it are cumulative. Meaning, right, like if I make a speech at a lawyer conference, I'll probably close like 5 or 10 people from that speech. But the second time I speak, I'll also close 5 or 10. And this is hard for people to understand, that some of the people who watched me the first time became like 5 out of 10. They went from 0, like I ain't ever heard of this dude before, to like 5 or 6. Like, this guy kind of makes sense. I'm not ready to hire him. I'm not ready to work with him. But all of a sudden, I just warmed up to him and his whole company. And now the second time I see him speak about another topic, I may go from a 5 to an 8. And all of a sudden now I'm actually actively wondering, how much is it to work with you? How does it work? Right? And the person would not have become an 8 if there weren't 2 pieces of content, in this case 2 stage presentations, that worked in conjunction with each other. So the real magic of using this strategy, I say, is when you got 10 to 15 media pieces that just like are beasts that, you know, sell you as the expert in your space. But I guarantee you the unseen part of what you did is that some people who never heard of you 5 minutes before just went to a 5 or a 6. And so they're on the cusp of the next time you do something or the next time after that. So to me, the fact that you're going to be in their back-end portal, and it sounds like they need more stuff of what you do. And again, once you understand this fills a need on their end, they need stuff to say to their members, and usually most writers want to be paid for it. And you're showing up and saying, I'll just give value to your audience continuously. And you're doing that because you get clients on the back end of it. But if you really understand stuff is cumulative, the benchmark is not always like, did this one sign clients or not sign clients? It's did we move people? So I kind of either use a football analogy or a golf analogy, but let's use football for this one. They may have just went 60 yards up the field, and now they're at least you can throw the ball 40 yards. You can potentially score a touchdown from there, or you're not far from points. So I say that to you because once you're in on those associations, and we've got a couple of people experiencing this now inside the Wolfpack, but you can do $1 million a year with one fucking partner. One! We ain't talking you need 72 of them. This is not cold outreach where you need 800 zillion fucking booked appointments to get well off. You just need one good relationship with the right person who already knows everybody in your industry and is happy to share you and promote you and recommend you and things like that. So I guarantee you, at least for some of the people, now just went 60 yards up the field and in unseen ways. In fact, Seth Price, who's one of the best at this, Seth Price, dear friend of mine who is on the Inc. 5,000 year after year. He told me basically every year they apply, they get on it, and then the years he's not, he just forgot to apply. But anyways, so they've been massively growing their agency. They're what I would call a mega agency. They got 10 account managers or 12 or whatever he's up to these days. And that's not counting staff. That's just front facing client managers to deal with their legions and mountains of clients. But he said, I don't expect to convert people from speaking until my third speech. So the first time he said it's shaking hands, it's nice to meet you. Hey, that guy seems all right. He says the second time it's kind of hey, I know you. Yeah. And you're kind of long lost friends. Yeah, that's my buddy. And then he said third time it's meeting an old friend. And so if you really understand that, I just say that to you because that's the hidden thing most people cannot understand, is that the effect of content, especially in this case in an industry association, is cumulative. Meaning they see 3-year post in a video, it's going to work better than if they just saw one. So especially too in this day and age. And part of the reason that is because there's so much fucking noise, right? There's a lot of shit competing for people's attention. I can't tell you the number of times I see something, think, I want to buy that. If they don't retarget me, I get interrupted, kids or whatever, a phone call, an urgent message, right? And then shit, they don't retarget me. There's no sale to be made. And I went from never heard of you to a 9 out of 10, and I still didn't buy. And so there's a magic in repetition. I wish more people understood it because repetition gets through all the noise in our online space. Anyways, though, my job. Congrats, that's badass. Russ says, hey, Frankie Finn, I've been traveling a ton, so I haven't been able to listen to your last Q&A yet, the one where I asked about the investment size on a first date offer, but I will. In your experience, does an audit work as a first date offer? So for those of you guys who are using an audit as part of your strategy, so I know a lot of you guys who sell SEO use an audit. If you're doing pay-per-click, you may use an audit, maybe not necessarily for Facebook ads. But yes, audits work. This is a little bit of a rant on audits, though. So I'll tell you guys how we do them, how we formulate them, so they've worked for us. This is 20 years, by the way, of selling a lot of shit through audits. And it's a really simple formula, but once you get it, you'll understand how to use it and why it works. But first I want to show you how I think about offers, because not everybody saw your question, Russ, and so I know I kind of gave you the answer there, but for everybody else who is dealing with this or dealing with trying to make your offers work, I view offers as 3 offers. These are the 3 offers to make your business scalable and successful. Offer number 1 is what I would call a coffee date. A coffee date is a unpaid, let's learn a little bit about each other. And just so you guys know, this community is a coffee date, right? You come into the community, you get a feel for me and the community and the kinds of things we do. And if it doesn't vibe with you, you fucking leave. And if it does, you're that way kind of makes more sense to me than what everybody else is saying, right? So it's kind of a coffee date where you get to learn a little bit about each other. So coffee date to me is how can I learn a little bit about you? And there's lots of coffee dates. Books are coffee dates. Email a PDF is a coffee date. Get my free guide is a coffee date. I wrote a free report. That's a coffee date. Created this referral checklist. That's a coffee date. So there's lots of coffee dates, right? Facebook group can be one. Join my email list can be a coffee date. But it's a how do we learn more about each other kind of thing. And the second offer I look for is a first date. And different from a coffee date to a first date is actually paid. I mean, money has been exchanged. And if we do this right, the first date is is for both parties, by the way, because if you end up with a pain in the ass client that maybe is difficult to help, well, now you haven't signed a 12-month contract with them. It's very easy to just not have a second date. You go, hey, we're finished our 7-day thing. Nice knowing you. Happy to have helped. Talk later, but really you don't want to talk later. It also works that if you do it right, you create some kind of result for somebody that then leads into the marriage. So what most people do kind of metaphorically is they try and sell marriage right out of the gate. And I'm not saying that can't be done. But usually if somebody has never heard of you and you're selling a marriage offer, in order to convert them across that gap of I've never heard of you and now I'm going to be committed to you, often requires a lot of proof, case studies, testimonials, demonstrations, right? So often you'll see this in a lot of marriage offers where they got a mountain of case studies and testimonials of why we're the real deal. And the downside of that, as I mentioned, is that often you get committed to people who, for lack of a better term, are fucking crazy, right? There's a lot of crazy people in the world, and some of them are clients, and you can end up with crazy clients. And so if you go straight to marriage, it's often difficult to get out of those marriages. Now, if you do the coffee date, first date, marriage, what you do is you actually sell a lot of marriages, in my opinion, a lot easier because you strategically design the whole thing. So putting this all together, what's important with coffee date, first date, marriage is that they all harmoniously lead into each other, okay? So, for example, if I'm selling an SEO package, which is my marriage, and I did that for just so you guys know, for 12 years, that is a difficult to sell standalone. Hey, you've never heard of me, now sign up for a year and I'll be your SEO guy, and no guarantees it'll work because Google's crazy. It may change the algorithm 27 times along the way. That's a difficult to sell marriage offer. So, hey, let's work together 30 days and I think I can get you ranking for these 3 keywords might be a better, more appropriate introductory let's work together. And so back to your original question is, I like to think of the audit leading into the first date, leading into the marriage. So, for example, I'll give you how we've actually done this. Okay, so selling SEO. So I offer the audit. Now, what's important in an audit is that it's actually not about the audit. You don't sell an audit as an audit. You sell it as an outcome. And usually the outcome they're most interested in is passing very specific competitors. And the way this works, by the way, and this works especially for those of you guys who work with local businesses, name them. Hey, you're behind ABC Restoration and XYZ Restoration. Did you know that? Can I put together a free little analysis to show you why those guys are ahead? And if I were you, what I would do to fill that gap? So it's very, very simple when you do an SEO audit, and this is true for a lot of you guys who service local business, is show them where they're at, show them where their main competitor is, show them mathematically why there's a gap between those two places, and then describe what you would do to rectify that situation. And exactly as Cole says, almost always the reaction is, fuck that guys, ABC Restoration, those guys fucking suck. They're the hacks. They don't know how to do good work. So for those of you guys who want to convert, the idea is you start with an audit that then establishes you got a problem and need to fix it. And this is very important because the way most people sell those kind of services is what I would call future gain. And future gain means it would be nice to have tomorrow, but that does not fill an immediate need today. And so they will often respond to your offer like, that's cool, I like it, but they will not buy it. When you show them you are losing to ABC Restoration or whatever the name of their competitor is and that they're losing right now, that's a today problem. That ain't a tomorrow. That ain't hey, it's nice to have in 6 months. That's hey, there's 1,000 visitors a month going to Google right now that are hiring ABC and not you because you ain't ranking, motherfucker. I probably recommend you guys don't call your clients motherfucker, although that never fails to get a laugh for me, so I personally use it. So anyways, though, So as far as putting those three offers together, if you're doing SEO, then the SEO audit naturally leads into the first date, which naturally leads into the marriage. So in the case of our first date, it was like, hey, you got a couple of keywords that are between 4 and 6 in the rankings. And I bet you, like, we could probably get those top 3 in the next, like, 60 days. I won't be able to, like, perform a miracle, but you're close enough to the goal line that I could probably get you, like, in 3rd place. If you're open to it, instead of like big promises and stuff, why don't we just work together for 60 days and I'll take this keyword that's number 4 and I'll get it at least to number 3, so you're in the map pack. Does that make sense to you? And then what happens is, if you actually fulfill on that, what are they going to want? Marriage. They're going to want more of that offer, right? So when you do this strategically, you're starting out with an easy, soft to sell audit, free information kind of, let me show you how to get ahead of your competitor, and that thing naturally leads into the first date, naturally leads into the marriage. So I describe that process as what J. Abraham would call strategic thinking in business. You have to be able to think 2-3 steps ahead, that you're giving away an audit so that your audit will sell your first date, so that your first date will sell your marriage. And otherwise, they'll be clashed because those offers won't flow together. Now, I know your offer in your particular case, Russ, is not SEO, but I'm also like, kind of sharing this information for everybody who's listening to this and people who watch, replays and stuff on YouTube. But I share that with you because getting those 3 offers in order in the trifecta is essentially how you grow any business, right? Like for a lot of business, the coffee date might be follow us on social media. Then the first date might be like come in and try a $7.99 lunch special. And then the marriage may be join our email list and we'll give you VIP offers, right? I'm just kind of bullshitting, but if I was a restaurant, that might be something like you would think of as how those offers fit together. So anyways, I hope that's helpful, my dude. But yes, to answer your question the short way is yes, audits work. Just don't sell audits as audits. Sell the outcome of, I'm going to give you a plan to get ahead of ABC Restoration or whoever their competitor is. Or the other version of a plan too is if you can bring it down to a present day problem as a what is this costing you today as a result of having it? Well, you're losing business to a competitor, or 90% of your traffic is being lost in the ether, or whatever it is, right? So show them where those leaks are and what it's costing them today to have that leak. And generally speaking, they'll be really open to hearing about your audit, which offers a plan to fix it. Man, Basil, he says, it would be really cool to put in your book, Frankie Fenn, if you're still open, adding to more sections to it. Put some chapter about lists of any platforms or resources or tools that sort of aggregate sources of distribution. Very useful. Like a place where it can match podcast hosts with guests that want to be on them. Maybe even some affiliate opportunity commissions for them. Yeah, actually, you're very much right. Basil, we're probably going to have to build something like that because for those of you guys, he's obviously, just so you guys know, he read a little sneak preview of the book, which is why he's asking this question. The big idea in the book is an idea a mentor said to me years ago. In the simplest terms, he said to me, well, I hung out with him. His name's Ken. I hung out with him for months. And I never saw the guy work. He was always on the boat, and he was karaoke, and he was schmoozing, and he was at the country club, and he would golf, and go fishing with his boys, and he'd drink too much at night and go to karaoke. But and I was kind of amazed because here's a guy who's doing 8 figures, and never works. It was amazing what kind of lifestyle he had. And I remember saying to him, Ken, how do you do this? And his answer stuck with me for so many years. He said, well, buddy, basically I like to do things where I can do them once and get paid for them again and again. And he said it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'll tell you why it hit me like a ton of bricks. Because I realized everything I had was do once, get paid once. So I had a lot of income. But I was like, man, if I stop working, this will all get turned off. And I was like, with Ken's case, he set up things that were due once, get paid again and again. And so he could actually stop working and the income wouldn't stop with it. And I was like, right? Especially after seeing how the guy lived as a result of those changes, I became pretty hooked. Now, I didn't immediately have an answer. But the answer came to us, Ilke and I, as a mantra that I started 4 years ago, which is called passive automated recurring income. And that is basically a do once, get paid again and again. And there's a formula to doing it, which I share in the book in more detail. You guys will get it whenever I get those endorsements. But it's basically, the idea is you combine distribution, an audience of people, with products and services that those people need. Sounds so amazingly simple, but you would be amazed at how people who have audiences struggle with, what do I sell? What do I say? What do I do? And then people who have products go, how do we get in front of people? How do we market our shit? And so simply by being the middle person and bringing them together, especially when you do it for products and services that are naturally recurring, you create for yourself a spread of recurring income that gets, and different than client work, which we talk a lot about in an agency, is you don't work for anybody in that scenario. You're just a person who, what I call a digital deal maker, who puts together deals and negotiates a middle spread for you. And so that's the big idea that we're going to be sharing. Now his suggestion is, well, distribution needs products and offers. If we created some kind of like directory or place where they could easily find each other, then we could function as a middle person in that deal. Yes, absolutely. So maybe you and I should talk about that privately, because that's a big project and a big undertaking. I probably need some help from specific people to pull it off, but I think it would be useful for folks to have. Anyways, that's all I got for our usual questions, unless you guys got anything else you want to drop in the chat. One thing I mentioned for those of you guys, if you didn't see my email this morning, but we are building tools galore in the Wolfpack, and I'll tell you why I'm doing it. There's really two types of tools that I want to focus on. One are kind of like what I would call little cash bumps that are easy to deliver. I call them my 1 hour upsells, and they're things that basically like deliver extra cash out of like revenues and inquiries you already got, but are super easy to deliver and fulfill, and ultimately a really high value for clients. So like an example one that we're creating is what I call my 1 hour book. And it's basically you just jump on a client with Zoom, you ask them the 15 questions written in our script, and they basically lay out everything their client is wondering and thinking about, and then that information gets fed to ChatGPT, and it gets fixed like into audio written transcription. You give it to somebody on Fiverr, and they turn it into a table of contents and stuff to make it a real book, and then there's we got a cover template on Canva, which you just give to somebody on Fiverr, and they fill in the information. You got a book cover for it, and then you print out like 20 of those using a service called Blurb. You send it to the client, and then they hold a week later in their hand. They got a real physical book written in their name and their voice, and all they got to do is hand them out to clients and customers. And we find usually every 15, 20 books you give away, you get a new referral. So there's an example of one of the 1 hour upsells we're putting in there. Is you can create these books for clients super easy, and the focus on those is for things that you can do to both generate quick cash for yourself and your client, generate some quick easy wins. One of my goals is to make the Wolfpack free to everybody who joins, where it pays for itself 20 times over. So that's what I've been focused on. We have the exact tools like say this script, say this message, ask these questions, hire this person on Fiverr, do it and then wait a week, and there you go. There's your finished book. Print them out. Client's happy. You're done. Took you an hour. So anyways, we've got some different stuff like that. And then also I've been building AI tools. I'm a big believer on identify the buying audiences in your space, then pitch those people on creating valuable content, co-creating with their audience. And then there's a specific type of content I'm a big believer in. I call old plan, new plan. It sells your stuff without having to sell it, and ultimately leads people in your direction to buy your thing, but it's not pushy, and so you're adding value to everybody else. And we've been working on some AI tools to identify the audience owners, so that you find out where they are, how to contact them, all their social media, their email, their mailing address, everything they've published for the last week, and all that information put together in a spreadsheet. Takes us minutes now using AI. Then we use that information to create a super hyper personalized pitch in the Frankie Finn framework, so that it writes in our format, and then we're taking that and then feeding it to our content machine and saying, this is what the audience is interested, this is what they're doing now. And you just basically you copy and paste Frankie's big mega prompt, answer 4 or 5 questions, and it'll go here you go. Here is your content, and helps you create that super easy, so that you can create the content at scale and do it super easy. And what's different than most people is I can't tell you the number of times people ask me about one-to-one outreach. I heard this morning, somebody's I call, I get the receptionist, the gatekeeper won't even let me talk to the business owner, and they do all this trying to navigate around the gatekeeper and face all this rejection. Meanwhile, you can do more damage sending one fucking audience owner a message I want to do something valuable for your audience, and then they'll publish you in front of sometimes 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people in your industry who are all known buyers, and then you create something valuable for them, which is for us super easy to do. It's a couple button clicks. and ultimately it pre-sells your things, so people come to you. Like, not all that different than when I used to speak a lot in the legal space. Like, you walk off stage, you sign 5 or 10 clients. That's how it works, right? You give a valuable presentation, you walk off, you get 5 or 10 clients. Well, there's a way to do that, to sell without selling, by creating a very specific type of content, and we've now got it promptified, so it's super easy to create. So if you guys are interested in that, you can check out beyondagencyprofits.com. That's all I got for you guys, man. If you guys want to work together, check that shit out, because I think it's the greatest shit ever, but I'm obviously a little bit biased. But my goal is to build for you guys like a massive amount of leverage. Leverage to me means a little bit of energy goes in and a lot of cash flow comes out. What everybody else is focused on is only the cash flow going out, which I think is important. But what happens is, if you don't think about the energy going in, then you work way too fucking hard. Like, you put a massive amount of energy in. It's kind of like, you know, you could dig up, or you could like break a road by like chiseling away for like 2,000 hours, or you could get a jackhammer and be done in 10 minutes. I want to give you guys the jackhammer. So it's like 10 minutes of work and we're done smashing that road to smithereens. So that's kind of what we're building. For those of you guys who are interested in that, check out the link again, beyondagencyprofits.com. Check out the Wolfpack. And that's all I got for you guys, man. Happy Monday. Appreciate y'all. I'm just a little later than the day, but, you know, I've been building tools, sitting in a dark room locked. Oh, and by the way, just a quick announcement. We're interviewing a couple awesome legends tomorrow. That'll come out in the next few weeks before I forget. Rand Fishkin is who's arguably the biggest name in all SEO, if not the most well-respected. I mean, he's been doing this 20 years. He's coming on tomorrow. And also, we have our man, Sam Carlson, talking about UpHex. We got a couple of guys doing some sneaky awesome shit in our members area with UpHex. UpHex is a tool that enables you to like clone Facebook ad accounts into other people's account, as well as use their library of all the known working ads and data to then auto-generate like variations of new ads that will work like right out of the gate. And so much of the trouble with Facebook ads is just trying to find ads that work. And UpHex makes it super easy to click a couple buttons and start with known winners, which is a massive both time and cost savings for those of you guys doing it. So I'm happy to share that with you guys. And that's all I got for you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. Much love, and happy Monday, and may the force be with you.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll also like my book on Amazon called Beyond the Agency Box, which you can also find by my name, Frankie Finn, and it's got a lot of awesome reviews, and it really just goes deeper on a lot of things we're talking about, everything you need to grow and start a lifestyle agency, from the stages you'll go through to getting clients, to how to create winning offers, to high-value deliverables, to wowing clients, to building teams, to building systems, and building a boring factory that's like a 7-figure money machine for you. So if you're interested, I put links for you in the video description, as well as it'll be in the pinned top comment below, and make sure to check those out.